I've lived a long life, long enough to learn that some places remember you, even when you try to forget them. And for me, that place is a ship. A great, beautiful, terrible ship that still floats quietly off the coast of California. The RMS Queen Mary. People call her a legend now, a museum, a monument, even a haunted attraction. They pay for tours, take pictures, laugh at the stories. But they don't know what it's like to stand in her halls when the laughter fades. They don't know what it's like to hear something moving deep in her hull long after the engines have gone cold. I do. Because once, a long time ago, I was one of the men who kept her alive. It's strange, thinking back. I was only 24 when I first stepped aboard her in 1959. She was docked in Long Beach by then, retired from service. The glory days were over. The ocean liner that once carried soldiers through war and celebrities across the Atlantic was being stripped down and reimagined. But she was still magnificent. Still powerful in a quiet, almost sorrowful way. I worked maintenance, engine inspections, hull checks, all the dull, oily work no one remembers. But I loved that ship. Even when the others joked about her being haunted, I didn't believe it. I thought ships creaked because they were old, and voices carried through metal corridors because of the way sound travels. I didn't believe in ghosts back then. The first time I felt it, really felt it, was in the first-class pool. They drained it years earlier, but the smell of chlorine never left. Every time I went down there, the air felt heavy, colder than the rest of the ship. You could see your breath, even in summer. And the echoes, they lingered too long, like the room didn't want to let sound go. One night, the supervisor sent me down to check a leak. It was around midnight. The hallways were empty, the world outside dark and silent. I remember the hum of my flashlight, the way the beam trembled as I walked. The door to the pool area stuck halfway open. When I pushed it, something wet dripped onto my hand. But when I looked up, nothing. The ceiling was dry. I stepped inside. Every sound I made came back twice, once from the walls and once from somewhere else. It was subtle at first. Just the soft rhythm of water drops. But then it changed. It wasn't random anymore. It was steady. Measured. Like footsteps. I turned toward the deep end. That's when I saw it. A shape, faint, pale against the darkness. It looked like a woman standing where the diving board used to be. Her dress clung to her like it was soaked through. Her hair floated as though she were underwater. I blinked, and she was gone. The pool was empty again. But I swear, I could hear the sound of someone swimming, their arms breaking the surface, the splash echoing in the dark. I ran that night. Didn't tell anyone. Who'd believe me? After that, I tried to stay away from the lower decks. But something about that place draws you back. Like it's waiting for you to come see what you missed the first time. A few weeks later, I was assigned to repair lighting near the boiler room. Down there, the ship feels alive. Every vibration, every groan of metal sounds like breathing. There's a legend among crewmen. They say a man was crushed by a watertight door during a drill. Door number 13, they called it. I always thought it was just a story to scare the new guys. Until I went there myself. The smell of grease and burnt metal filled the air. I crouched near the control panel, tightening a loose wire. That's when I heard it, a slow creak. The sound of the door shifting on its hinges. But the hydraulics were locked. That door shouldn't have moved. Then came footsteps. Heavy boots, walking slowly behind me. I turned. No one there. But the air had changed, colder, sharper, like the moment before a storm. And from the corner of my eye, I saw a shadow slide across the wall. It wasn't my own. It was taller, broader, and moved with purpose. A whisper followed, just a single word. It sounded like my name. I left my tools where they were and ran. When I came back the next morning, the door was sealed shut again. But my wrench, the one I dropped, was wedged halfway inside, twisted in half like something had crushed it. That's when I started keeping track. Every strange sound, every flicker of light, every chill that ran down my spine. There were patterns. Every few nights, around 2:45 a.m., the ship would tremble, just slightly. Metal shifting, like something moving deep below the decks. And if you listened closely, you could hear the faint sound of water dripping where there was no water. By 1966, my nerves were shot. The Queen Mary was about to be retired for good. They said she'd be turned into a museum, a floating hotel, maybe even a restaurant. But to me, it felt like burying something alive. On my last night aboard, I went back down to the pool. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself it had all been in my head. The air was still cold. The room was darker than I remembered. But the pool was filled again. Water, perfectly still, reflecting the faint emergency lights. That couldn't be right. The pool had been dry for years. I stepped closer. The reflection rippled. And then, something broke the surface. A hand. Pale. Small. Reaching upward. I stumbled back, but I couldn't move far. The air felt thick, pressing against my chest. The figure rose, slow and silent, until I could see her face. The same woman from before. Her eyes were open now, glowing faintly. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. And then, one by one, lights along the ceiling began to flicker on, following a path across the water, leading straight toward me. I don't remember running, but I must have. Because the next thing I knew, I was on the dock outside, gasping for air. The ship loomed behind me, quiet and still, her reflection shimmering in the harbor. I quit the next day. Left Long Beach. Never told a soul what I'd seen. For years, I tried to move on. Built a life, a family. But sometimes, late at night, I'd wake to the sound of waves against the hull, even though I lived nowhere near the sea. I told myself it was just a dream. Until the day my grandson came home from a school trip. He'd gone to visit the Queen Mary. Showed me pictures on his phone, bright hallways, the deck, the pool. He was so proud. Said they'd taken a photo near the diving platform. He laughed, said, "Grandpa, look. There's someone behind me." And there she was. In the background. Faint, blurry, but I knew that face. I hadn't seen it in over 40 years, but I'd never forgotten it. The pale skin. The hollow eyes. The faint smile. I didn't sleep that night. The image burned into my mind. I told myself it was a trick of the light, a camera glitch. But I knew better. A week later, I went back. I told no one. The Queen Mary sat in her berth, grand and silent, surrounded by tourists who had no idea what they were walking on. I walked those same halls again, older, slower, but every step felt familiar. Every corner whispered something I didn't want to hear. I stopped in front of the first-class pool. The sign said closed to the public. A rope blocked the way. Beyond it, darkness. Cool air drifted out, smelling faintly of salt and old water. I stood there for a long time. And then I heard it. A single drop of water. Then another. And then laughter. Not loud. Soft. Distant. The kind of laughter that sounds like it's coming through a dream. A guard passed behind me. Asked if I was all right. I said yes. He chuckled and said, "Funny thing, they say this room's been dry for decades, but people still hear splashing at night." Then he walked away. I leaned closer to the glass. My reflection shimmered in the dim light. And for a split second, it wasn't me staring back. It was her. Eyes pale as sea foam. That same faint smile. I whispered her name, though I never knew it. And I swear she whispered mine. The air turned cold enough to miss my breath. Somewhere deep in the hull, the ship groaned, that long, low sound like something waking up. No one else seemed to notice. Tourists laughed, cameras clicked. But I knew. Once you've heard the Queen Mary breathe, she never stops following you. I left before sunset. But that night, the smell of salt water filled my room. And outside my window, faint and distant, came the mournful wail of a ship's horn. They call her haunted, cursed, legendary. But I think she's something else. Alive. Hungry. A monument that feeds on memory and fear. Sometimes, when the fog rolls in from the Pacific and the night grows too quiet, you can still see her lights through the mist, faint and golden, like a ghost city drifting through the dark. And if you listen closely, you might hear the sound too. A door slamming shut deep inside the hull. 13 times. That's when you'll know she's awake again. And maybe this time, she's not waiting for me. She's waiting for you.